Keeping score with Rick Horrow. We're talking about golf, we're talking about tennis, we're talking about other kind of sports, and we have someone with us who can talk about all of those things. We're heading into Wimbledon. We're also ending a lot of the golf majors, getting into the next set of golf majors. A whole lot of stuff for tennis and golf. Butch Buchholz, thank you for doing this with me. Appreciate it.
Rick, great to be here with you.
Well, in full disclosure, where we are is we are in Aberdeen. We just played the Trump International course. Give me as a golf fan first, and as a tired old golf man next, give me your impressions of Trump International.
It's beautiful, and it's hard.
Yeah, and it's windy.
Well, and we had a little chill in the air, but it's absolutely spectacular. I think it was built in 2012,
right.
And it looks like it's been there since the early 1900s. I mean, it's a beautiful, beautiful golf course.
Without getting into politics or predispositions or anything, we all understand Donald Trump's passions for the game of golf, and he certainly brings it every day. It's a first-class facility, and he does that all over the world, doesn't he?
He does. I mean, when we talk about Doral, it's not a renovation, it's a new Doral, and it's beautiful, and it's pretty much what you said is Donald's passion for the sport, and he's built a magnificent golf course here in Aberdeen. It's great.
The interesting thing about this one, then we'll go on to other things, is that he blends old and new. The clubhouse was finished in 2015. It is a spectacular, ornate, elegant, Trumpian way to approach things. That's the way he normally does it. And then he builds a new course set out in the Scottish Highlands and preserving the links feel. It's an incredible kind of dynamic.
Well, I don't know that much about golf architecture, but what they're saying is that when you saw the property, everything was almost just, it fit in an architect's mind that this is an easy way to bring a links golf course to Donald's property. I mean, it was already there apparently, and it is beautiful. I mean, it's hard. We've hit a lot of golf balls today.
Yeah, we hit a lot of golf balls today, and you take 100 shots. Yeah. After you take 100 shots, the next 2 or 3 don't matter, really, right. Which is kind of interesting.
Exactly.
Let's work backwards about, let's go golf, and then we'll go tennis and everything else you've done in your amazing life. The golf piece, though, is interesting because you did run as chairman the Doral WGC tournament 2 years?
Almost 4.
Almost 4 years. Time flies. And it was a honorary position, you thought, when you were getting into it, but it was much more than honorary because you really did micromanage and you were day-to-day, basically.
Well, I actually wasn't day-to-day, but I think I was brought in basically from, the equity that we created out of the tennis tournament and tried to bring the community back into the golf tournament. And I think we did that. I mean, I think we did some really neat things. We got Joe Stone Crab to come in and Chula Burgers and Sushi Maki. And we tried to change it and make it more like Miami. When I first got there, we had hamburgers, hot dogs, and corn dogs, and I said, okay, guys, this is not Miami. So we were on our way to making some, I think, major adjustments and major going forward to make it better. So I think everyone was pleased with what we did. I'm privileged. I think I'm one of the few people that's ever been the chairman of a major tennis tournament and the chairman of a major golf tournament. And I think the reason I was asked to do that is that I understand that we're in the entertainment business. And it really doesn't matter whether it's tennis or it's golf or it's basketball or whatever. We need to make sure our fans and our sponsors have a good time.
Well, and you mentioned past tense a little bit, and it is ironic because the news peg about all of this, and you've been in the news a little bit more than you wanted to, is that the WGC and the tour basically pulled out of Doral and took the WGC to Mexico starting next year. So talk a little bit about how you perceive the World Golf Championships as events and what it means to the PGA Tour to have financially successful events around the world.
Well, first of all, there are only 4 of them.
Yeah.
So, we had one in Miami. You have the Dell event in Austin, Texas. You have the Bridgestone, which is in Akron, and the HSBC, which is in Shanghai. it is an international event, and the tour is responsible for managing it, but they have partners, and they have partners with the top golf associations throughout the world. So you got the European Tour, the Asian Tour, I think South Africa. I think there's 17 countries that are involved in this. The World Golf Championship events help support those 5 international associations. So first of all, I don't believe that the tour was cavalier in walking away from 54 years at Doral. I know their mentality is, we love the tradition, and so I don't think that, but there was a financial element to it, and the fact that Mexico stepped up with a unbelievable offer, and the fact that the tour is responsible for helping those other events financially. I don't think the tour had any choice. I think they had a fiduciary responsibility to take the best deal they possibly could, and I thought that's what they did. It's too bad that Miami is going to lose this event, and hopefully someday, somehow, maybe the tour can find a way back. But they're not cavalier about walking away from 54 years.
It's interesting that people will write into it whatever they want to write into it as far as the reasons why decisions like this are made. Trump forced it out of Miami, et cetera, et cetera. You've been on point. I mean, you're the guy who knows what the issues really were for the last 3.5 years. And I guess your position is that Trump may have had some things to do with it, but it was an offer in Mexico that couldn't be refused under the circumstances.
Correct. And I truly believe that the tour would have stayed at Doral if we could have find a sponsor that was willing to put up the money and stay at Doral. I mean, that would have been their first choice. Now we had a year. The tour had a year to find a sponsor.
When you say tour had a year, it's because Cadillac's deal was expiring at the end of this event.
And they told us that up front. We're changing our marketing strategy, and so they had a year to find somebody. Unfortunately, they weren't able to do that or find something that was even close to the match that we got in Mexico, or they got in Mexico.
Well, and it's like that all over. We understand the business of golf. It's a sponsorship-driven event where people, whether it's WGC or others, look to the sponsors to either make or break the event. If you don't have a title sponsor, you got to do something about it.
Right, exactly. And again, I truly believe that the tour it was money, but also the fact that they have partners, that they had a fiduciary responsibility to take the best deal for themselves and the partners. So again, I don't think they were cavalier in walking out.
Well, we get that. And as a lifetime Miami, I will say that remember going to the Doral Eastern Open and the Ryder Open and Ford and all of those, and being, growing up and loving it there, it hurts a bit, and you wish something could be done.
Yes, and the Trump organization did a fabulous job in not renovating it, but making it a new Doral. The golf course is fabulous. All the golf courses there are fabulous. They redid all of them. The hotel is fantastic, and unfortunately, they weren't just able to find a sponsor that was willing to put up the necessary money.
Butch Buchholz, chairman of the WGC event, which is now gone. But listen, the guy's had an incredible career doing a lot of other stuff. So let's now talk tennis. We're now in the Wimbledon time. This is going to air during Wimbledon. First of all, what was the highest ranking you ever had in the world?
5.
Okay. 5 when you were like 14?
Almost 19.
When you were 19. So what happened? Why didn't you ever come to? Who were 4 through 1?
I think Laver, Fraser, Neil Fraser, probably Barry McKay. Be honest with you, I don't know. It was so long ago, I can't remember.
Yeah, of course you can't. But the bottom line is Laver. That's the other issue. So talk a little bit about the. I know we're talking about Barnstormers and what the Tennis Channel's done. It's a magnificent documentary as well. So give us an elevator speech about the 50s and 60s before Lamar Hunt and how difficult it was actually to bring pro tennis to another level and your role in it.
Well, The most significant thing is that most people think that tennis and what you see today is the way it's always been. And the facts were, prior to 1968, if you turned pro, you were no longer allowed to play in the major events. So you couldn't play Wimbledon. So I played Wimbledon when I was 17, 18, 19, and I did not go back again until 1968. So it was 8 years. So you think about all the Wimbledons that Laver could have won, and Hode could have won, and Gonzalez, Rosewall. We were banned. So the Barnstormers is actually telling that story. It's telling the story of how professional tennis actually pushed the ITF into open tennis, and we'd be very thankful to Wimbledon, and the chairman of Wimbledon at that time was a guy named Herman David, invited 8 guys to play there in August of '67. He said, if you fill the stadium, then I don't care what the ITF says. The British public want to see Laver, Rosewall, Hode, you guys play again.
Buchholz.
You're involved. You're invited. So very significant thing. But we were on our way to basically creating the PGA for the way that the PGA was for tennis. And then we split, and you had Lamar Hunt's World Championship Tennis, and then there was another one called National Tennis League, which did not last. And actually, I think in about '69 or early '70, it all merged under the Lamar Hunt, Al Hill WCT events, and they were great. They actually basically took professional tennis out of the trunk of somebody's car and made it a business.
Butch Buchholz, you don't want to call him the grandfather of professional tennis because he ain't that old, but the uncle, the uncle of professional tennis. From that perspective, if you had a magic wand and wanted to change one thing about the way professional tennis is run, governed today, what would it be?
I would like to see men's and women's tennis under one roof. And I would like to see professional tennis understand that they are competing in a very competitive sports business market. And if we ever got all of our entities and our assets in one basket, we would be a much stronger sport financially.
Now, from your perspective, you're ATP. I mean, you ran a lot of these organizations.
Right. I was the CEO of ATP for a while. I was the commissioner of World Team Tennis. I had tennis tournament. Well, I did the Lipton event in Key Biscayne. I had 7 events in Latin America. I had New Haven. So, I understood we were in the entertainment business. I also understand that if you're together and you're competing against other sports, you're going to be a lot stronger. And unfortunately, professional tennis is very fragmented. And they occasionally get together and talk about what's best for the game, but everyone is still worried about their own little world, and that's understandable. But if that whole world could ever get together and be under one roof, it could be National League, American League, the NFL, AFL, I think the sport would be a lot stronger financially.
Global audience, perspective, unparalleled, but is this pie in the sky? Is there anybody that can actually bring these people together?
I don't think so. But I think the NBA would love to have the demographics of what tennis has worldwide, and we're a worldwide sport. But you've got the ITF, you've got ATP, you've got WTA, you've got strong national associations, and they're all a little worried that somebody is maybe going to get control, which is why, everyone feared Jack Kramer for all those years and stopped open tennis. And the game would, if it were thinking along the lines that we're together and we're competing against other businesses, sports businesses, they would do better.
Final question, really. 10 years from now, what is the global perspective of tennis look like? What does tennis look like around the world 10 years from now?
I think it's going to be stronger. I think one of the great things that happened is that tennis went into the Olympics. And now countries that had not invested in tennis before, but because it's an Olympic sport, will invest. So now you're seeing all the Eastern European countries. You're seeing, major, players coming from those countries because they invested in tennis because it was an Olympic sport. And I think the same thing will happen with golf. If it'll grow globally. It's already getting there, but it'll get bigger. And I think tennis will just get bigger and bigger.
Ladies and gentlemen, Butch Buchholz, one of the few people who really has the perspective of being a successful entrepreneur in tennis and golf. We just wish, after spending a few hours watching, that his golf game itself would be a little bit better. Thank you, my friend.
Me too. Thanks.